Converting fractions to decimals with number chips. This is the Easter version. So it starts out with just having the students determine what number they multiply by each of these numbers in order to get 100. So that will actually be the first step in converting fractions to equivalent fractions with 100 in the denominator. So here they've got 5 number chips. They're going to be using every single one of them in one of these circles. So 50 we would have to multiply by 2. 25 you'd have to multiply by 4. So they just click and hold on each one of these. When they hold, then they can move it into place. So 10 times 10, 20 times 5, and so on. On the next slide, they're going to be converting fractions to equivalent fractions with 100 in the denominator. So what they're going to do is determine what they have to multiply by their denominator to get 100. So if they multiply the denominator by 2, they have to also multiply the numerator by 2. And that will give them 18 hundredths. Here they multiply the denominator by 4 to get 100. Then they have to also multiply the numerator by 4. And they would get an equivalent fraction of 20 hundredths. And that's the next step to converting to decimals. On slide 4, they're going to be doing a review of place value. So they have these 6 numbers, they have to put them into the correct place. So for example, it says place your 4 in the ones place. So they click and hold on the 4, put it in the ones place. The 1 goes in the tenths place, and so on. And they have to use every single number. Slide 5, now they have fractions that already have 100 in the denominator, and they're going to convert them to a decimal. So the arrows show them what number is going to go in the hundreds place. So in the numerator, it'll be the number on the far right, so that 9 will go in the hundreds place. And then they should be able to place the 4 right in front of it, and then this number would be a 0. And they're going to use, again, every single number. So the 3 here would be in the hundreds place, the 0 in the hundreds place. Now they've got a couple fractions they're going to convert to decimals. So that 5 on 45 hundredths, the 5 would go in the hundreds place. Then they just place the 4, and this number has to be a 0. They've got a couple more to do. On this one, they have 5 100ths. So this one's kind of tricky sometimes for the students. They want to place the 5 here, but the 5 needs to go in the hundreds place. So that would make these two numbers zeros. And then they have a couple fractions where they have 3-digit numbers in the numerator. Again, that 1 would go in the hundreds place, and then they can place the other 2 numbers. Here, the 8 would go in the hundreds place. Now they're going to be converting their fractions to equivalent fractions with 100 in the denominator. So this has to be a 100. They know they're going to multiply times 50 in the denominator. That means they multiply times 50 in the numerator. That gives them 50 hundredths. That 0 is going to go in the hundreds place. And then they can place their other 2 numbers. Here, they know they have to multiply times 25 to get 100 in the denominator. That means they're going to multiply by 25 in the numerator. And that'll give them a decimal of 75 hundredths. They've got another one to do like that. And again, converting to 100 in the denominator. Now, sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes they have to simplify their fraction first. So here, if they simplify 6 40ths, they're going to get 3 20ths. Now they can convert it to a fraction with 100 in the denominator by multiplying by 5. And that would give them 15 hundredths, and now they can convert it to a decimal. Now, if they can't convert to 100 in the denominator, then they have to simplify first and then divide. So if they divide the numerator and denominator by 3, they get 1/8. And to divide with long division, this would be 1 divided by 8. These numbers have to be zeros. So if the students need practice with their long division, you could go through this with them. 8 goes into 10 one time. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract, they get 2. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. And you want to point out that that decimal point is just going to go straight up. So 8 goes into 22 times, which is 16. And again, remember, they're going to use every single number chip. So if they can't use every number, they need to go back and look and see where they made an error. So they subtract, they get 4, bring down another 0, and then 8 goes into 40 evenly times 5. So they get an answer of 125 thousandths. Same thing on the next slide. They simplify. They'll get 3/8. They can't convert it to 100, so they have to use long division. And on the final slide, they've got a repeating decimal answer. So it's just going to be a 6 repeating. And they've got a little line here. They're going to place that above the 6, so they show that it's repeating. The final slide is just some vocabulary on decimals that you can go over with the students.